Hey YouTube, what's up? Jeff Pazuka here. So I'm shooting this video in inspiration. I just watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos of someone I've been following on YouTube for some time, David R. If you don't know who he is, check him out. See if I can post a link to his things. He does a lot of cool drum hacks and projects and whatnot. And I'll probably tag him in this video because he'll probably appreciate a couple of these things. So there are videos already out there on YouTube about my drums, about cymbals, but I'm going to go in depth today, actually tonight, on my cymbals, what I have, what I use, and what I did to them. So first thing right off the bat, I'm a huge Sabian guy. I love Sabian cymbals. And about 95% of the cymbals I use on my set are Sabian. We're going to go and get into my current configuration in just a few minutes here. I am partially in pieces. I got one of my SBRs off here, which I will get into and talk about in a few minutes. That's on the ground, and one of my mounted toms here is on the ground. Doing another project here, which I'll reveal a little later on, but for the most part, let's get into the cymbals. Now, I am not a real high-end Sabian guy. Really, I grew up around the B8, the B8 Pro line, and that's what I'm kind of been used to. But then ever since Sabian had been evolving, coming out with newer, cooler things, and I kind of migrated towards a few of those, but still kept a couple of the originals that I've been playing for years. So let's dive into that. First one I will get to. Let me move my ears out of the way here so I can get to my seat. Okay. I guess I'll start with this guy here. This is a 14-inch B8 Crash. That's it. 14-inch. I mean, the logo through cleaning and other things. I mean, I got this secondhand, but the logo's rubbed off, but it is a genuine Sabian B8 cymbal. And if you see it, there are dimples kind of hammered about midway on the bow of the cymbal. That was my little thing to do. Took a ball peen hammer. I mean, Sabian's been hand hammering cymbals for years, but I took a ball peen hammer, hammered maybe 20 or so dimples into it just to darken this crash. As you know, when they come off the line, if you ever heard B8 cymbals, they're really tingy and a bit bright, and I'm a sucker for all kinds of different sounds, but I kind of tend to lean towards the darker side of sound. So after hammering, a handful of dimples, letting it sit for 8 to 10 days, let the cymbals settle and everything. This is the result, and hopefully the audio is not bad, but so definitely darker on that guy there. So yep, that's the Sabian B8 14-inch Crash. Okay, let's move on to one of my new favorites. This is the Sabian XSR 18-inch Fast Crash. Unmodified, my friends. This one has not been hammered or dinged up or done anything to it. Just because I love the way it sounds. And seriously, for a mid-range cymbal, I gotta say, if you're looking for halfway decent set of cymbals, XSR is the line. I'm telling you, they have a ton of great options, and this is very quickly becoming my new favorite line as of right now, that which within the price point I like to spend money on for Sabian cymbals. This is just fits perfect right there. So let me hit this a couple times here for you guys. Oh! The decay is fast, but still going. So it still rings out. So for a fast crash being dark and dirty, as that is, that's something I love there. So yeah, that's one of my new favorite cymbals. Okay, move on to the splashes. This is the B8 Pro 8-inch splash. Again, unmodified. And I'll just hit this a couple times. Very fast, responsive, glassy. Very nice cymbal. I like the B8 Pros. So that's the B8 Pro. And this is a B8 10-inch splash. And I'll hit this for you guys. So again, very fast responding, glassy, a little bit slower decay just because of the size, and it's still resonating. So yeah, so that's the Sabian B8. That's a B8 Pro. That's a B8 Splash. Okay, let's move on to, we'll get to this guy. So again, I said before, 95% Sabian. This probably falls in within the 5% range. This is a Meinel bell. I believe it's the 8-inch bell. Can't quite remember on the size. It's an HSC bell, and I inverted it, and still going. Still going. To just have a cool bell type of thing, you know, jam out or a bell effect, that does it for me. And I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with this. I was at Guitar Center some months ago, and I saw that on the rack, took a stick, hit it a handful of times, and thought about it, kept the kind of sound in my mind, came back here, played the set, and I was just like, yeah, this kind of fits. So next I went back and picked it up, and there it is. Okie dokie, let's move on to probably would be considered the most expensive cymbals, I should say, on the set. And that's the Mike Portnoy 10-inch Max Stacks, which is a 10-inch splash and a 10-inch China. We call it a China Kang, but it's just basically a China. Hand-hammered, which is really, really cool. And unlaved on the edges and everything. And the two are stacked together. And those who are not familiar with the cymbal, do yourself a favor, look up Mike Portnoy and listen to these cymbals. They are incredible. And being a diehard Mike Portnoy and Dream Theater fan, don't correct me on that. I love Dream Theater regardless of who's in it, either Mangini or Portnoy. But I love these cymbals, and just give you a quick idea. So the decay is very fast. You can even take it and tighten it, so you get it even tighter. Actually, it's about the same. I'm trying to do this one-handed. There we go. Or you can really loosen them up, make them really sloshy. So, yep. So that's the 10-inch Max Stacks, named after his son, Max Portnoy. Okay, moving on to probably the newest investment. Again, I was at Guitar Center probably a couple weeks ago. Again, I'm in the cymbal room checking out all the used stuff. And I saw this guy, ProSonics, Sabian ProSonics, long discontinued cymbal, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but the XSR is basically the child of the ProSonic series. So a bit higher end off the B8 and the B8 Pro line, but still within the mid-range line. And again, unmodified, haven't done anything to this, but dark, very, very warm sounding, dirty. I played it probably not even a minute. I fell in love with it. I had to have it. So I picked this thing up. I think I paid like $45 for it. It was a great deal. Probably could use some cleaning. I got it as is, and got home, slapped this thing on, and haven't taken it off since. So there it is. Okay, let's move on to the next bit. These are the Sabian SBR cymbals. These are brass, pure brass cymbals. So it's a lot lighter. But these are modified. And what, again, I did is I hand hammered with the ball peen hammer, the top and the bottom. And also on the bottom, I drilled 4 holes consecutively, evenly across the bottom cymbal to allow air to escape to give it a more faster response. Now, this is my remote hi-hat. For information on how to build your own remote controlled hi-hat, see my other YouTube videos. There's one on there. I believe it's called Do-It-Yourself Drum Hacks or something along those lines. Anyways, so let's have a listen to this guy. So still, it's kind of in between. It's dirty but bright at the same time. And this actually took me a little while to really get down to where I wanted it. So I hand hammered. The first thing I did was drill the holes in the bottom hat. That was the first thing I did before I even started hammering the cymbals themselves. Once I drew the holes, I played them for a little bit, listened to it, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, but it could be better. And then that's when I went to town with the ball peen hammer. About the same amount of hammering on the top and the bottom of the cymbal. And I let it sit for a couple days, put them on, played them, and ultimately decided I needed a little bit more hammering. So I hammered a bit more, and again, just kind of experimented, played them, listened to them, kind of let them sit, played them again. So probably about maybe 2.5, 3 weeks of experimenting and getting to where these are now. So that was the result, and they've been like that since then. So that's my 13-inch, by the way. These are 13-inch hats. So, yep. And seriously, for a cheap, low-end cymbal, you know, little modifying, little thing here, you can make them sound great. I've used these I took these out on gigs before with no problems. So, and they sounded great. So, there you go. Okay, let's move on to this guy here. So I guess this falls into the other 5%. Because the top cymbal is Sabian, the bottom is a Zildjian. And this is actually my first stack cymbal I made, oh my god, 12 years ago. Before I was still young, playing drums, and, you know, Mike Portnoy, at the time, it still is, was my real drum hero. And he had, you know, the stacks, and being a kid, younger then, I couldn't afford, you know, professional cymbals like this. So my dad and I had a handful of old junky cymbals with, you know, chunks taken out of them and everything. And, you know, one afternoon, Dad cut them on a bandsaw circular, and then we drilled a bunch of holes, not even really symmetrical, on both the cymbals, both here and, I think you can see right there on the bottom. Again, in no real pattern. And I've been using these guys since, but still. Not a bad little stack there. And seriously, don't be afraid to stack some cymbals and experiment, you know. So that basically is what that was. And considering it's been in my life almost as long as I've been playing drums, I have to keep it with the set. So that's where it lives. All right, let's move on to this guy. This is the SBR brass cymbal. This is their 18-inch? 16-inch. 16, hang on. This is, I don't even know. I believe, yeah, I believe this is an 18-inch China. Could be 16. No, I think this is 16, I'm sorry. And so this one again is modified. Not so much with the hammering. I did hammer it a little bit, so you can see some dimples, but more noticeably I drilled holes. I did go symmetrical. I went 4 here, 4 towards the bow, and then 4 on the edge to, again, darken the cymbal a bit sound-wise and to make it a little bit more trashy. And I guess the idea behind hammering cymbals is certain places of holes makes it louder. In this case, I found that to be true. So let's have a listen. That is one loud cymbal. But yeah, that's my 16-inch SBR China that lives over on the right-hand side. And seriously, you can beat the shit out of this thing and it won't break. At least I haven't broken this thing yet. So yeah, it could take a beating, I'll tell you that much. Okay, we're going to get to the hats last. I want to go back to that SBR crash I have here. I'm going to take the 14-inch off so you guys can hear this. Okay, now again, this is SBR. It's a 16-inch crash, and it's got 8 spaced out holes. And again, this was kind of an inspiration of the ozone crash, which has become very, very popular over the years. The only thing is with the ozone crashes, at least the ones I've played personally, they were a little too trashy for my liking, because I guess the size of the holes. So I kind of like the idea of the holes in the cymbals, but I didn't want to sacrifice necessarily a tone and really just get another trash cymbal. I still wanted to maintain that tonal quality, but still have that slight bite. So this took some time experimenting, and again, this is another hand-hammered with a slight hand-hammered dimples. You can see them there. And then that was the first thing. I hand-hammered it, figured I could make this thing sound good. Wasn't quite happy with it. I'm like, you know what? What the heck? I'll drill holes. Actually start with smaller holes, like in the China, and decided to go with these, I believe, half-inch holes here. And this is the result. So you get a really fast attack, get some bite out of it. It's still kind of trashy, but at the end, it levels out to a nice tonal plane. Here, listen again. There it goes, right there. So yeah, that's the Sabian SBR 16-inch crash. Sounds pretty decent. I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to put my 14-inch B8 back on its mount. Alright. Finally, the icing on the cake. Now, a lot of these cymbals, almost every single cymbal I love on here. But again, going with XSR. I was using B8 Pro hi-hats prior to, and as great as those cymbals were, they were a little too heavy, and especially when played close, they were a little too chonky sounding for me. So I was like, you know what? Time to upgrade my hats. So I actually had the XSR crash first. The more I played it, I just realized, like, you know what? I'm going to look for some XSR hats. And went to Guitar Center. They really didn't have any XSR hats, so I went online, listened to some samples off the Sabian website, and I kind of picked between this one and another set. It was a fusion set with a crimped bottom hat. And then a couple days later, I went back to Guitar Center, and sure enough, they had a used set of XSR hats, and these are them. And I said, hey, can you take these off? I want to play them. They took them off the rack and got them mounted on a hi-hat stand, and I played them and fell in love. And I got to say, seriously, for mid-range cymbals, these are the ones. XSR. I mean, I really like these, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Now, the only thing I did modify these, but it's such a slight modification. I'm actually going to move my mic out of the way here, and I'm going to move this so you can see. There it is. That's the only thing I did. One there, and one there. That's it. 2 small holes. That was the only modification I made, just to prevent some airlock. So I get a nice, crisp sounding hat. And here we go. Oof. I mean, they sit right there, right in that mix. They're perfect. They're not too overbearing, but they're not too soft. They're just right. And they sound so good. And I don't know how the quality of this now going over 20-minute video, how the audio is going to be. And the only thing I can say is, you know, if you can, go to your local music shop, whether it be Guitar Center or Sam Ash or whatever you got, or a local mom and pop shop. Play these cymbals. You know, check them out. Do your homework. I would very strongly not say. I very strongly recommend not just going in blindly buying cymbals, unless you're a beginner. You really don't care what it sounds like. You just want something to hit. But being a real anal gearhead like I am, you know, I'm very particular about my sound. So, but yeah, seriously, XSR. Can't stress that enough. Okay, so that is it for my current cymbals. I'm going to get to hold this business in just a moment. Let's see here. I'm going to show you guys a few more little things. So a couple cymbals that I retired are over here. We got the Cymbal B8 Pros, and actually there's a pair of B8s underneath those. Those I'm looking to sell off. And then there's the 18-inch B8 Crash that this guy replaced. And then that's a 20-inch B8 Ride. Again, you can probably see the dimples. I hand-hammered that. That's what the Pro Sonics replaced. But that we're going to keep. The B8 Ride, because my fiance and I are actually getting married at towards the end of the year in September, and I'm going to make that into a clock. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the numbers, put the numbers on it, and then everyone that attends the ceremony, they're going to sign it in Sharpie, and then I'm going to put the clock mechanism in, hang it up, and we'll have a very nice clock from that special day. So yeah, so that's that. Okay, let's, oh yeah, by the way, you're probably seeing all these little things in my studio and everything. Again, there's videos, tour of the studio and everything, very detailed, so check those out. But anyways, we're going to head out of the studio, and oh look, there's a little beater set. Picked this thing up at Savers. It's a second-hand store for like, I don't know, 40 bucks, and yeah, so there it is. Okay, let's head down the stairs. This is another thing I did upstairs. I put this grip tape on the steps because these stairs are a bit steep. And coming up and down these steps and trying to lug gear up and down them can be a real pain. But small price to pay to have your own jam space. So, okay, so one thing I'm working on is painting some of my hardware. And I already applied the first coat, and it's still not quite dry, but it's dry to the touch. So, in terms of painting hardware, I know there's a lot of videos and people who do this and all that other stuff. So, trying to experiment with different types of spray paint. I went with a little bit more of a higher end spray paint. I didn't just grab the cheap stuff. And this is what they recommended. Is this universal gloss all surface paint primer, maximum durability and adhesion. And don't know if it'll work, but if it does, cool. And if it doesn't, I have a backup plan because I want to paint my hardware and I don't want the paint to chip off because most of the hardware on the drums is black, so why not have all the rest of the hardware black and make it look matching nice. So this is going to be a probably spring and summer long project. I'm going to do a little bit, you know, every couple days, take a little piece down off the set, paint it. That's why some of those mounts, that's actually the tom mount for that 13-inch tom that was sitting on the floor. Okay, well, I think I talked your ear off enough, guys. It's been over 25 minutes. If you stuck it out with me this long, thank you. Please feel free to comment, leave a like, all that good YouTube stuff, and yeah, and hey, rock and roll, and I'll talk to you soon. All right.